And welcome to Open Court, Tallest Tales of the NBA. I'm Ernie Johnson, and this should prove to be some fun. I've got 7 pretty fair basketball players here to talk about just about anything we can think of. And to introduce the panel, we got a 4-time champion, Shaquille O'Neal, the newest member of the Turner Sports family. Hall of Famer, Dream Teamer, Charles Barkley is here. Hold your applause. One of the all-time great clutch shooters in NBA history, Reggie Miller, part of our 7-member panel. A 5-time All-Star and former Rookie of the Year, Chris Webber. In 14 years, he was an All-Star and NBA champion, Steve Smith. 5-time NBA champion with the Bulls and the Spurs, Steve Kerr. And finally, 2-time NBA champion and Shaq's favorite bum, Kenny, the Jet Smith. These men have a lot in common, including memories of their very first day in the NBA.
Philadelphia 76ers select Charles Barkley of Auburn University.
Ooh. Actually, that style is back.
No, it ain't. That's so old, it's back.
Eddie Johnson barrels down the lane.
With the Auburn, didn't he?
A block foul. They're going to score, though.
The Sacramento Kings select
Goodness gracious.
from North Carolina.
Still 10 on the shot clock. Kenny Smith.
What kind of pass was that?
He didn't catch that, man. Willis,
Come on, man.
Willis like,
You got 2 legends fired.
Reggie Miller of UCLA.
oh man, look at this. Reg, I had that couch.
You still have that couch. I like that couch.
still have that couch.
Thing about that couch, you can waste a lot of food on it, nobody will notice.
Number 50, the Phoenix Suns select Steve Kerr, University of Arizona.
The 104 Suns.
The Miami Heat selects Steve Smith from Michigan State University.
Steve Smith is the 2-guard.
Comes down, lands, he's there, and then all of a sudden he just
How you get hurt?
trips over something.
With the first pick in the 1992 NBA draft, the Orlando Magic selects Shaquille O'Neal from Louisiana State University.
Anderson, tough shot. Forced it. O'Neal, an offensive rebound. Bangs free. Jordan, the ball.
That was Jordan.
1993 NBA draft, the Orlando Magic select Chris Webber.
Yeah, Shaq. That wasn't me. That was me.
Shaq made the phone call 5 seconds later. No, we don't
Has traded the draft rights to Chris.
That's nervous. You know, you trying not to show your nervousness, but you showing it in every movement.
Here comes Webber in the open court. Webber.
Move, Kenny. Move, Kenny. I forgot I'm at work right now. Some fond draft night memories and some of the lowlights of the careers of these 7. Hey, when you look around the room, Shaq, who do you think had the best pro debut, best NBA debut of the 7 here?
I'm gonna have to go with Steve.
Why would you go with Steve?
His jumper looked nice. He was limited on his mistakes, and he looked good doing it.
Which Steve?
Which Steve? Steve Kerr?
Steve Kerr.
Wrong Steve. It was Steve Smitty. Steve Smith made it look easy.
He even crossed his leg. That's a good
You know what?
You know what? He's in the Barcalounger over here, making it look easy.
No, you know what? I'm looking at my research. They were down by 15. He was faking that injury because there was nobody next to you. Nobody next to you.
I got hurt playing defense. I got hurt playing defense.
You playing defense?
Yeah. I got hurt.
You actually had 24 in your NBA debut, and that was your season high for your rookie season.
Wow.
None of y'all
So,
had 24?
I didn't
That's
start.
the most you had your rookie year?
Who did you
That's
play?
my worst.
Kenny, did you start?
Yeah, I started my rookie year.
But that was his first night in the
was with the
NBA,
Heat.
and that was his season high.
Yeah.
So did you think they were all going to be that easy?
I did.
For sure, because I had the ball in my hand. But I was playing with Glenn Rice, so I had to get the ball up a little bit. And the black hole, Ronnie Cycling. But
Way to throw him under the bus. Good job. Yeah.
Ronnie never threw the ball. Ronnie only had a career high of 3 assists. But it was, you know. That's my guy, but he didn't pay.
Reggie,
one of those nights.
Yeah, Reggie, what was your welcome to the NBA moment that you knew you had arrived and you were here?
Well, I'm not necessarily thought I had arrived, but game 1 of preseason. This is a preseason game 1. And obviously I was playing with Charles's Auburn teammate and Chuck Person, and he comes up to me before the game and is like, watch this little love tap I give to Dominique Wilkins. I didn't know they had beef the year before. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. And I'm sitting on the bench because I'm a rookie. None of us really started. And as soon as the jump ball went up, Chuck went right up to Dominique and gave him a forearm right in the throat. The bench is clear. Everyone's getting up. And I'm standing on the sideline. And Herb Williams is next to me. I'm like, well, what should I do? He's like, Rook, you better get your behind out there and start fighting. That's how I knew I was part of the NBA. You had to, what you can't do now,
right.
You had to clear the benches and run out there and get Chuck's back. But you know how Chuck was.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no question.
He would give it to you.
How about it? I mean, you recall, you know, preseason games being that intense? Your first season?
Only one. Like, there was a noticeable difference. Like, the first couple games, we were screwing around. I was really nervous playing with Doc, Moses, Maurice Cheeks, Andrew Toney, Bobby Jones, and those guys. And the first 3 or 4 games were, you know, you're just trying to break a sweat and work on your stuff. And then we played the Boston Celtics. And you could just, I was like, wow, this is different. The locker room was quiet. And then a fight broke out during the game between Dr. J and Larry Bird. And it let me know, like, that was hatred between the Sixers and the Celtics. I mean, it was unbelievable intensity in a preseason game.
For all of you, I mean, when you reach this level, you're in the NBA. It's been a dream, I'm sure, when you're going to YMCA games at, you know, 8 o'clock in the morning and that kind of thing, and you're always thinking, boy, I'm playing the NBA someday. How does that feel when you finally realize that, Shaq?
Man, you know, for me, it was fun, you know, because I grew up watching all these old-timers on this panel, except for Chris. But, you know, it was fun. You know, I said to myself, I made it. But, you know, the funny thing for me is I didn't know the difference between preseason and the regular season. So when I first got to the Magic, I was playing all out preseason, and Scott Skiles said, hey, man, calm down. The season ain't started yet. What you mean the season ain't started? We 3-0. We first in the conference. Like, no, it's preseason. I'm like, preseason? What the hell is that? Yeah.
Ernie, I think it's a lot more nerve-wracking than people realize. Because what you did in high school, like, okay, all of us are the big men in high school. But then when you go to college, you're back to zero. I mean, you go back to zero. And then it's even worse when you get to the pros. Because like I said, I didn't start. I was the number 5 pick in the draft, and I wasn't even really getting to play a lot in the beginning. But it's very nerve-wracking. And there's certain things that people take for granted. Like, number one, it's kind of like you're an alien. What I mean by it is they come and pick you one day and they drop you off in the city. So first thing you have to do is find a place to live.
Is Philadelphia bigger than Leeds?
just in that one little area. Ernie, you know what's something that's funny? You said that learning your way around these cities and trying to get there for practice in the morning or go out and get a meal.
Were you late a couple of times?
I was. Well, first of all, it took me a while because you're not getting paid. So they pick you up like the first week because you really go right into training camp. And then most places you go somewhere. So it was very nerve-wracking, and then when I finally got a car, you know, man, I just drove around trying to figure it out the first couple days, and it is hectic.
The biggest thing to me is there's two different things. There's when you first hit the playoffs, but then when you first actually be a rookie. Because all of us, when you're in college, if you have a good game, that means your team is pretty much either going to win in college or going to be close to winning, because you're dominating the game. I just remember my first time having a really good game in the NBA, and I'm looking up, and I got like 23 points going into halftime, and we're down 11 or 14 points. So the first time in your life that you couldn't really impose everything on the will of a game, and you go, wow, this is how great these players are, that you're not the imposing force no matter how great you're playing.
Steve, what was that first year like? You're playing for for Cotton?
For Cotton Fitzsimmons.
Yeah.
You know, my experience was totally different than these guys because I was a, late second-round pick. I didn't know if I was going to make the league. I was on a non-guaranteed contract. And I'll never forget one of my first exhibition games. We played the Bulls. And I was just trying to make the roster. And Michael Jordan gets the ball right in front of our bench. And I'm already scared to death. Like, God, I hope I don't get into this game. I'm not ready for this stuff. And he holds the ball out. He holds the ball out, and he looks right at me. And I'm on the bench, just kind of like, he holds the ball, and he goes, watch this. And he turns, and he went right around Dan Marley, bam, dunks it, looks back at our bench, and just starts laughing. And I'm looking like, there's no way in hell I can ever make the NBA.
Now I really don't want to.
I thought he looked at you and said, 10 years from now, I'm going to throw this.
Yeah.
Be ready.
Ernie, I know I struggle. Ernie, I struggle with downtime. After practice, being in Miami, at 1 o'clock getting out of practice, and then you got a whole bunch of free time.
A lot of guys didn't struggle with the downtime.
I struggle. I really struggle.
Not on Washington, Collins, and Ocean. You wasn't struggling.
When I came to the NBA, being the #1 pick and coming behind Shaq, it was, it was pressure. So I wouldn't say I had the pressure of Steve saying, I might not make the team, but I have a pressure of expectations and, what do my peers think of me? Not what do they think of me, what am I make them think of me, what is this and that. But I remember going to 2 games specifically, playing against a preseason game against Akeem, and I was nervous. I'm watching them, I'm just, because I'm still a fan. I've never met any of these players. So my first game, I'm a fan of Akeem. He's, I'm looking at his legs, looking at his tonics. I'm like, yeah, I had those shoes. I'm 2 years removed.
I say tonics.
No, tonics. Everything about Akeem. And I remember I drove it down the lane, I spun it, I laid it up, and I made a little face. I'm so excited. When walking to halftime, he's like, nice move. Next time, give me a shoulder. And then the next time, Sean Kemp came and I traveled, pump fake 3 times, and I came down the court. Sean was like, hey, relax. Nobody's going to block your dunk. There's athletes in here. You just relax, you take it up. And I was like, wow, the veterans, they're cool because they'll knock you out coming to the hole, but they'll also give you a little bit of love. So my first year, I was a little in awe, but it helped a lot.
We are just getting started here. We got to go, and we'll be back with more watching Open Court, the tallest tales of the NBA.
I look over to the bench and I see one of my idols telling Keith Klaus how to stop me. I see Kareem saying, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Now I'm pissed. Kareem, Laker, so I'm like, give me the ball.
Miller for 3, and he got it. And it's 105-102.
Fell on his own.
And a steal.
They're back.
The three-point line. And that can happen again.
Nice, Smitty.
There you go. Couple of Motown moves.
Straight base.
I think Charles came to play.
It's like Chris Gallen, everybody highlights.
Yeah, 60-something? How many? 58. 58. This is a playoff game?
Yeah.
Smith for 3. Yes! His dad and mom able to celebrate.
Reggie Miller is there. Weber steals. What the heck?
I remember this is a 50-point game.
Yeah.
Found that contract.
Here's Jordan.
You ready? My coach, you ready? All 4 pitches.
Talking about the great nights in the careers of all 7 of these players. The last image we saw there was you, Shaquille. And I don't know if when you consider your greatest nights, if it's a team thing or if it's an individual thing, but as a member of 4 championship teams and also a guy who has scored 61 points in a game, how do you classify it?
I'm gonna have to go with the individual thing, and that probably was my best game. That night, it was my birthday, and we had a party. So, usually I go home.
Before or after the game?
No, after the game.
In the game.
Big party, so, usually I go home, eat lunch, take a nap, get ready for the game. But we played against the great Keith Kloss and the LA Clippers. So I'm taking the night off. I got to get ready for the party. I got the Bentley, I got my suit, so I'm gonna go, you know, I'll shave. We're gonna beat them. So we get out there and they killing us. Now everybody looking at me. So now I got to play. I didn't get my nap. I'm getting tired. So I'm just scoring. So I look over to the bench and I see one of my idols telling Keith Kloss how to stop me. I see Kareem saying, "You got to do this. You got to do that." Now I'm pissed. Kareem, Laker. Oh, now so I'm like, give me the ball. So I'm scoring, and you know I get 61. I'm throwing lobs, and I'm actually kind of upset at Phil because I think we had like 5 minutes left, and he took me out. I think he did that because he didn't want me to score more than Mike. That's what I think. That's what
just saying. 61 points. 61 points, 23 rebounds against Keith Kloss.
Video game.
The great.
And still went to the party. Still went to the party.
Jet, we saw your performance from long range in the finals on the greatest stage the game has. When you see that, what comes to mind about that night and about just that moment? And you saw your dad.
So my dad, actually, that was the Knicks finals, but when we played Orlando, you know, that was probably the most memorable individual night, only because we were Western Conference teams, and so we really didn't play against them that much. We only played against them twice. And so you might be catching them on a back-to-back. They might be catching us on the 3 nights and 5 games, whatever, three games, whatever. So you don't really feel like you're always your best in the regular season. So we didn't know what they were. And then all of a sudden, we're at our best, they're at their best, and they go up about 17 points. And we really didn't think we could beat them. And it was kind of a shocking wake-up call because they were young.
How does that make you feel now? You hear that?
I told Brian Hill we don't need to double. Listen, Akeem gonna get us 27. I'm gonna get my 25. Now, you know, he doubling and he just kept kicking out to Kenny, and I think you had, what, 7 threes again?
NBA record, somewhere like that. I lost count at like 5 or 6. Hey, Reg, I lost count at like 5 or 6.
At that time, 7 out of 11.
Listen, I kept saying, stop doubling them, man. Well, we got to stop Akeem. Well, they got to stop me, too. Stop doubling.
Yeah.
You double, and they kick it out, and then you got to worry about him. You got to worry about Big Shot Bob.
Yeah,
it was
it's a great feeling because it's the biggest stage at the same time, and you having one of your better games in a bigger stage individually. But it was more rewarding for the team because we didn't think we could beat them.
That was game one?
That was game one. Yeah. We were really shocked that they were that good.
Hey, Steve, when we've seen the video before too of the huddle beforehand.
He comes up, I'll be ready.
You should take me through that. And again, you talk about big stages where Kenny's talking about hitting all those threes. Game on the line in the NBA Finals, and it was your moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's been replayed on NBA TV several times, so I always have the TiVo ready and gather the family around. No, I mean, you know what? That's the moment that every kid dreams of, and to actually have lived it is pretty incredible. But you know, I didn't have a great series, but I was having a decent game. I just made a few shots in the fourth. I was feeling pretty good. And Michael was always looking ahead to what was next. He was always kind of envisioning the next play. And he said during the timeout, he said, Stockton's going to come double team me, so be ready. And I looked way more confident in that shot than I really was. I was like, oh my God, okay. But I just said, you know what, just fire away. And that's the best advice anybody ever gave me was, don't think, shoot. You know, as soon as you start thinking, that's when you miss. And I just made up my mind. If I got the ball, I was gonna shoot, and luckily it went in.
Hey, Charles, sometimes, you know, when you talk to a baseball pitcher who has a big night, and they'll say, look, I really didn't feel it in the bullpen beforehand, didn't feel like I had my great stuff, and he throws a one-hitter. Is there any way to foretell a 56-point night?
No. First of all, that wasn't my best game. That was the night I scored.
Oh, excuse me.
Best numbers.
No, that was the best. No, I'm saying that was
best numbers.
I'm saying that was the most points I scored in the game. But I actually personally think Game 7 to get to the finals is the best game I ever played. I had 44 and 24. That actually, the game against the Warriors was only a first-round playoff game. But to get to the finals, I remember it was Game 7s are no joke. But to get to the finals for my first time and to score 44 and 24, that's the best game I ever played. The game against C. Webb and those guys was just revenge.
That was by Byron Houston. We told Coach, don't let Byron Houston check the check. Like, no, he's strong. He's like, he's 6'1". Don't let him check Big Chuck.
Because that game was so funny because I remember
Byron Houston.
No, and I remember I went to the bench and I says, "You're not gonna double me?" He says, "Nope." Because I had a triple-double. I think that was game 3. So I had a triple-double game 1. I had about 8 assists in game 2. So Nelly says, "We're not gonna double you tonight." I says, "You're not?" So I scored like 17 points the first quarter. So I run over again. I said, "Let me ask you, you're not gonna double me." He says, "You can get as many as you want." I said, "Okay."
Hey, you know, when we looked at that video of you hit 9 threes that night, we were looking at the video, and what everybody on the panel was doing is saying, "Give us a straight face." There was no emotion on your face. It was just like, this is what I do.
It was. We were losing that game. But I think my individual game that I really remember, I was traded for Steve Kerr and Derek Anderson from Portland. And it's the business of basketball. I drove up to Seattle to visit Bob Whitsitt, our general manager, because there was trade rumors about me getting traded. And he said, "Oh, no, Steve, you're not going anywhere." The next morning, I was traded. So, Kenny, I marked that game when we went back to Portland. I was 8 for 8 from behind the line, and I was really mad at Pop.
I remember.
Mad at Pop because he took me out, Rich. I wanted that. Let me have that game. 8 for 8. I got a tech because I was going at Bob Whitsitt, the general manager.
You were glaring at it. He was sitting
He was sitting with Paul Allen, and
yeah.
every time I hit a shot, Reg, I kept looking at it. That was the game for me because I had X'd that game because he had told me you wasn't get traded, which that's the business. By the time I got back home from driving to Seattle, he traded me the next morning.
Wow. When we looked at your 51-point game, I don't know who was in that video more, you or Reg. It did come against the Indiana Pacers. What do you remember about that night?
I remember the whole night. I remember I usually wasn't late for games. I tried to get to the game. You know, it's an hour and a half. I wanted to get there like an hour 10 and get in my own space. In this game, I was later than that, and I, just wasn't feeling it. I grew up, Isaiah Thomas was one of my favorite players from the Pistons. He was the coach. Reg, one of my favorite players, and Jalen, I just remember being uncomfortable, the game, getting there late, not feeling good, and then during the game, it just all came out, kind of how you said, the picture. I didn't have any type of feeling. I knew I took a lot of shots, but I remember I kept missing layups.
I remember took a lot of shots.
Steve, I promise you, Steve, if you look at that game, I don't know how many shots I took, probably 1 million. I guarantee you I missed 13 tip-backs. I guarantee you I had to miss 10 layups that night, so I just remember that, had a lot of energy, took a lot of shots.
We'll save the day at the Garden for last here, Reggie, because when we look at that video and everybody, it means something to everybody here. I mean, and they all look at it and say, man, I can't believe that was, it's 8 points in 8.9 seconds or whatever, however you break it down. But did you know that ball was going in? Do you know those balls are going in? It's almost like you knew. Just give me a shot at it, I will make it.
Well, a lot to what Steve said, for shooters, you just shoot, you don't think. And basically, you're just reacting in that situation. But, I mean, that's the 8 points in 9 seconds, whatever, is the great game. But to me, what's more memorable was the 25-point quarter I had against the Knicks in the conference finals the year before in '94.
Here's Miller, swings away, and hits. Reggie Miller is on fire. Miller open again. His foot on the line. That's a 2-pointer. Reggie Miller giving the choke sign to Spike Lee.
We're all talking about games.
Yeah. The choke sign.
It's the playoff games, and most of these, what we're talking about, are playoff games, which everyone is alluding to, because obviously that's when the pressure is probably at its greatest, and you've got to play your best. So that's what you try to remember the most.
You ready? You know what's interesting about that game? We had the next TV game, so we all had to leave for the game. When we got to the game, we said, man, the Knicks beat the Pacers today. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? They're like, the Knicks won the game. They're like, you didn't see the last couple seconds? Reggie went crazy. They're like, no, the Knicks won that game. We had to go back and look at the highlight, and we were like, that's unbelievable.
And a footnote to this entire segment, the field goal attempts for Chris Webber.
I figured you were going to say that.
47.
He shot 47.
You just heard two of the best shooters in the game say, don't think about it, let it go. I wasn't thinking that night.
And that's the reason that he is
shot 50%.
He is still shot 50%. Still icing the right shoulder, even as we speak.
40.
Back with more open court after this.
That's a feat in itself.
Doug walked away, so Keith got up running, Reg. Full sprint. And Doug knew he was coming and turned and tagged him.
Pat was showing that tape. You guys are not tough. You're not fighters. Look at Keith asking. Udonis is like, hey, coach. Hey, coach, Keith getting his ass whooped.
Comes Lampier.
Now back into the basket of foul.
Oh!
Really going at it again.
Uh-oh, get him.
And a foul.
Oh! Damn. Oh, he did that to OT like that?
Who got the better of that?
Nobody got the better of it.
It wasn't a real fight. What it was a barbershop moment. And let me explain. He hit me with the ball. Now, if I didn't do nothing back, I can't go to no barbershop in America. Right? They're gonna be like, man, you got punked by y'all. So when he did it, I'm thinking about our mothers, because our mothers are best friends. So I'm like, and I'm thinking, but I'm like, oh, hell no, I can't let this go.
Shaq, that punch that you threw had some pretty evil intentions.
As you say, he misses a lot.
If that had connected.
He misses a lot. But look, my theory on that fight was, Ernie, okay.
All you got to be is 15 feet away.
I don't want to fight Shaq. My thing was, okay, I had to make a quick decision. Let me just get him, then they're going to break it up. Because they're not, it ain't like, you know, people always talk about fights. It ain't like they're going to let you go at it like hockey. I mean, I said, I just got to get to his body, because if he stand back and punches me, I mean, he got a huge advantage. So I was just trying to get to his body.
When he swung at you and you closed your eyes.
I didn't close my eyes.
Was that just speed frame? Okay.
No, Rock'em Sock'em Robot.
Oh, okay.
I got to tell you a funny story about Tough Guy, though. So I missed my rookie year. And they had, you know, you saw Maurice Lucas and Darryl Dawkins going at it. So Maurice Lucas knocks the hell out of me during the game. And I'm a rookie, and I'm like, oh, my God, I'm going to get killed. It hit me, it hurt, and I said, so timeout, I said, Moses, Maurice Lucas just hit me really, really hard. What should I do? He says, hit him back, big fella. Hit him back, hard as you can. I said, what if he kills me? Trust me, big fella, just hit him hard as you can. So we're running down the court like 3 or 4 plays later. I hit him as hard as I could with a forearm shiver. Maurice kind of, like, he grunges, he bends over a little bit, he run back up the court, he says, just want to see what you were made of, big fella. Wait, welcome to the NBA. And I was like, cool. You know, but a lot of guys will try to intimidate you. They don't really want to fight. They just want to see are you intimidated.
Who's the guy that you did not want to mess with?
Easy for me. John Long, who was one of my mentors at Indiana. And we used to go over the game plan each and every night of who we were playing against. And one name, and I'm sure everyone's going to agree with me on this, Alvin Robinson was one of the guys. He's like, Reg, whatever you do, don't say a word to Alvin Robinson.
Alvin Robinson.
I'm like, come on, man. I'm a rookie.
You're a trash talker.
Hey, I'm going to talk to anyone. I don't care. I'm trying to, you know, puff my chest. Reg, I'm telling you right now, if you want to be successful in this league, just play the game tonight and don't say a word.
Don't talk to Alvin.
First down, time down to play. He almost picks up John and moves him out the paint. And I turn to Wayman Tisdale, and I'm like, oh, now I see what he's talking about. Right. From that day on, while I played Alvin Robinson, while he was with Milwaukee, San Antonio, I never said a word to him.
Well, I had the guy that everybody was fearful on playing with me, Mad Max, Vernon Maxwell. Because, and the great thing about Max was like, I was his new surrogate brother. So anytime that anybody did anything to me, he would
take off on you. Oh, so this is about my buddy. My buddy.
Hey,
wherever I go, he goes.
And so I would be behind him. Yeah, Max, that's what we're talking about.
Wow.
So I would stand behind him.
Glad you admitted.
But he's the craziest guy in terms of, like, his personality was so different off the court sometimes than it was on the court. And he was the only guy when we played Chicago. We had success, actually, against the Bulls in the regular season. We only played in regular season. But we had some success because he tried to fight Michael Jordan every time. And every game, he tried to fight Michael. And Michael, you know, as tough mind that he is, it really didn't get under him until one day, after every fight, he would bring his son in afterwards to get his autograph. So Michael says, something's wrong with this guy, Kevin. Right? Like, he fights me every day, and then right after, he brings his son in wearing Air Jordan apparel. And he's bringing him in an autograph. Like, he's not right. So I was like, that's right. Like, yeah, we got him, brother. We got him.
Kenny, you played with Dream, Thorpe. Vernon Maxwell was your bodyguard? Another guard? Another guard, though. But you didn't have a big guy.
They didn't mess with Vernon. Like, in practice, no, they didn't mess with Vernon. They would attempt to mess with Vernon. However, Vernon would follow through on the act. So if Vernon said, I'm going to hit you, he would hit you the next play. Vernon says, I'm going to trip you in the air, he would trip you in the air the next. He delivered on his messages. That's why he was the most feared guy.
I will say this one thing.
Yeah.
You talk about teams, we got to talk about the bad boy Pistons. Now, let me tell you something. They had a reign of terror there for a few years.
Yeah.
When you went to the basket, you were going to get hit like 3 times. I played with guys who were terrified to go near the basket. But you knew anytime you went against Lambert, Mahorn, Dennis Rodman, John Sally, James Edwards, you were going to get hit, and you were going to get hit hard.
And they had that rule, too, that if someone get fouled, then the second foul is
doesn't
not a
count.
foul.
You wasn't gonna get no 3-point plays.
Right. So they hit you, and then the second guy everybody would just gang up on you.
And the good guy on that team,
Joe
Dumars. And Joe, when I'm trying to take him, he's like, Reg, don't go by me now. Come on now, just settle out here and take jump shots. I'm like, why? You like look behind. He's like, don't go in there. All right.
Steve, what's the toughest thing about being an NBA enforcer?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Ernie. You know what I remember? I mean, we saw a lot of those highlights where all these fights happen, and Reggie, you mentioned it. If you're on the bench when all this stuff happens, okay, now you get suspended if you leave the bench. But back then, it was understood as a teammate you had to go out there. And it was also an automatic $5,000 fine. And I think it was $2,500 for a while, then they upped it to $5 grand. But here's what would happen with guys like me. You're sitting there, you're making minimum salary, okay? Fight starts. You look around, you're like, I gotta go out there. Otherwise, I'm not backing my guy up. And you're like, and nothing happens when you go out there. Everybody holds each other. But if you don't go out there, you're not backing up your guy. So you're kind of like, there goes $5 grand. and nothing happens. You're like, well, I have no
is he
choice
worth
here.
$5 grand?
Because you know the next day, everybody.
We watching
we're watching film. And we picking out.
It's a fine for you if you don't get off the
That's
bench.
right.
I got to tell you this, I got in one of those. I didn't get in the fight, so I was talking about a little bit earlier about Dr. J and Larry Bird got to fight. And what happens is you always just grab the guy closest to you. So I happen to be standing behind Larry Bird, so I grabbed Larry Bird, and Dr. J just laying him out.
Doc was smooth.
Can you give me the sound effect one more time?
Hey, Doc is doing rock and sock and roll. I get fined and suspended. I'm like, why? They're like, I said, I tried to break up the fight. They said that I was holding Larry Bird. I taught me a lesson. Just stand there. Don't do anything.
How much of this sometimes, I guess, is heat of the moment, and sometimes would you really like to continue this outside of the parameters of a basketball court, Shaq?
Not really. You know, it's all about respect. I used to hate playing against the Knicks when Pat Riley was coaching. He was gonna have problems in there. He was gonna have problems. And see, those guys, they hit you, you hit them back, but they keep coming back. Like usually, like when a guy hits you, you hit him back. He knows you ain't soft, so he'll leave you alone. They just keep coming, 48 minutes.
We had a melee with Miami Heat and the Hawks, and like you talked about, Chuck, grabbing somebody wrong. Grant Long and Dwayne Farrell. Grant choked Dwayne Farrell.
And the gum came out of his mouth. You show that?
Alvin Gentry was our coach. He was coaching the Heat. Grabbed Grant Long, which you shouldn't do. So Grant thought he was somebody else. He took Alvin,
And body slam.
And body slam.
Broke his arm.
Broke his arm.
Right.
And you heard Alvin screaming. Oh, oh! But you know, that's just a lesson. You can't go grab nobody.
I'll give
no
you the
matter
last
what, from behind.
I'll give you the last word, C. Webb.
Man, I don't know about, I just know one time in Sacramento, when we first got there, we're playing against Utah. And Sacramento, we're scared of everybody else. We've never been good, so we're trying to say it's our first playoff series. Let's go. So I tell Coach before the game, I'm going to lay out John Stockton, first play of the game. He's like, no, don't do it. I'm like, Coach, everybody, you know, everybody's scared, man. I'm going to lay him out. I lay him out. First play of the game, get a technical.
How'd you
all
lay him
that.
out?
It was coming off a pick. He came off a pick, a flex, and I waited for him, and I mean, it felt so good. I came down, I laid him out, and in my head, I was like, oh, man, I hope I didn't hit him too hard. That's how good it felt. He got up, Stockton got up, he didn't
Where'd
care.
you get him? Did you get him in the chest? You get him
I
up
mean,
here?
I got him like, I mean, like, you know, right here.
That wasn't that bad.
That wasn't that bad, no, but I got him, and after the game, you know, Stockton, he came over, and he was like, yeah, good job. He knew what I was doing, but after the game, all I kept thinking of was, you know, we won, and this is good for our team, but Stockton, he's as tough as he says he is. He's not crying, he's not, yeah, but he's not crying, he's
Still
not
had
running
20-20.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but I'm just saying, Stockton, the tough guy it is, it wasn't about fighting anything, but for his team, they were tough because he didn't get up, cry, and flop and all that. But for our team, you know, it was a pretty good session.
You are watching Open Court on NBA TV with our esteemed panel of experts.
We're not experts, Ernie.
Let me ask you a question. Right now, today, if there was one game, like he was saying, you could not give a team 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, right now, you could not give a team.
Oh, not right now, I could.
Hell to the no.
Are you kidding me?
He's the guy, as Kenny said, who hits all the big shots.
You're the only one standing up there, man.
For real? You want me to come up and apply for the New York Knicks general manager job?
And we welcome you back to Open Court. We're talking about life after basketball. Who has aged the best? Who has aged most gracefully?
After basketball, you're saying?
Yeah. And I'm looking, Charles, you're 48 years old now,
Yes.
correct? That would make you the oldest person
You
on
talking
this
about
panel.
face or body?
In terms of players.
Kenny's body under the waist is the oldest up here. Under the waist.
What? There's a couple people catching me on this panel.
You've aged, your knees have aged.
There's a couple people
If you're going to go by looks, me and C. Webb got that wrapped up really
Man,
Steve Kerr's a different.
Are you kidding me?
But you
Man,
and
please.
Steve can go for another three spot.
I'll tell you this, if I had to take one guy on the panel to play one NBA game,
Reggie Miller.
I'm taking Reg. Now, he'll be sore and he'll break down the next day, but one game, I think you could play one NBA game.
It was relatively recently that overtures were made to you, right, Reggie?
No, that wasn't recent, Ernie.
Wasn't there a team in Boston within the last couple of years that had thought, hey, maybe, Reg, if you'd like to, you know, do you ever think about that?
No, I don't. Just for the simple fact of what Steve said, it's the after factor.
Ernie,
How close was you, Ray?
You would
How
feel
close were
that.
you?
I was close. If Danny would have called in July as opposed to mid-August, late August, I probably would have gave it a better shot because he only gave me 2 or 3 weeks to get in shape. If he would have gave me the
Did
whole
you actually
summer-
go out and start working out?
yeah.
And then how did you feel when you were doing, I'm not me?
There wasn't enough ice that could put on my body that could have helped me feel any better.
listen, it's always amazing to me when people, like, you retire because you can't play. Because playing any sport is so hard on your body. And your body might look the same, like Reggie and Steve, you know, and Steve over here, like, their bodies look good. But Air don't hit back. When you're just shooting around in the gym by yourself.
So your body doesn't look good.
But let me ask you a question. Right now, today, if there was one game, like he was saying, you could not give a team 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, right now, you could not give a team.
Oh, not right now, I could.
Hell to the no.
Are you kidding me?
Jack, you shouldn't be laughing. you got her just running up the court. It's like 1 minute he comes, like he just run. Oh!
You know the sign when you know you're getting old. Like, when you're young and you get a steal. And you know, everybody get a steal and you take that little glance back to see who's coming and you see everybody pulling up. They're like, because he's going to dunk it. And then about your 8th, 9th year in the league, when you get the steal and you take that picture and everybody's like this.
I did exactly that on that play. I remember Jamal Tinsley got the steal and I remember him flicking ahead and I did exactly that because you're taught, take a picture. So boom, I got it, I took the picture. Tayshaun was 5 steps behind me. I'm like, I have this in the bag. Couple steps, and I'm going to be there. Could I have finished and dunked at 37? Perhaps. But I'm figuring, look, I'm teaching the kids, I'm just going to lay it up off the basketball. And the next thing I know...
Father Time caught you. That's who caught you.
All about the kids. As a big man, Chuck, when you know when a guy get old, and you can see it in any big man, but especially when a guy do like this. When you start pump faking and nobody's around you, and you because I started pump faking in my mind, I'm like, what are you pump faking for?
There's nobody.
I'm like, I could dunk this for these, and I'm thinking, no, he can catch you and block you at the rim.
Imagine if you're 6'5". Because, you know, I was talking to Larry Johnson one time about, like, when he lost his explosion, he's 6'5", and I lost mine. I said, dude, these boys big out here. My last year, I had to go to the chiropractor at the end of every week, because I'd be like... I mean, I was pump faking like hell.
Remember the time when the rim used to look little? Like, it's slow, ain't it?
Like, or you just jump up and catch it for no reason.
And all of a sudden, you'd be like, yo, you
know, Reggie talking about, he thought about dunking. My last couple years, you know, I had to have perfect conditions. I had to be going downwind. I had to get my steps correct just to think about dunking.
That door's got to be open to the prevailing breeze.
Hey, that was my whole career.
Do you imagine you are going to miss it this year, Shaq, being away from it for the first time?
Not really, because like Chuck said, you just realize you can't play anymore. Like, I can remember times under the basket where I, get my little shimmy move, and I'm like, damn, I go up to dunk it, and I couldn't even dunk it. I couldn't even finger roll. So, I mean, I realized it was over for me. But I'm 39, I'm sexy, I still got booty.
Quit stealing.
All good,
yeah. Quit stealing my line.
Reg, I remember the play when I knew I was done. I was playing with the Bobcats, and Bernie Bickerstaff had me at the 4. And I went to step out at the 4. That's the first sign, kid.
That's the first sign right there. You move from point guard to power forward. Yeah, that's the one.
So Jamal Crawford was coming, and I steps on the baseline, the high screen. He threw it through my legs and laid it up, and all I could see was Bernie. And Bernie go, it's time. Well, a coach would tell me it's time. And I didn't want to believe it, but Bernie said it's time. It was time.
I tell you what I tell people. They say, how do you know it's time? I said, when guys who can't play dead kicking your ass. I said, this time, that guy can't play and he's killing me. He's killing me and he can't play dead. It's time for me to sit at home.
I am 55, I'm sexy, and I still got booty. Got more open court on the way.
I haven't seen an expert panel like this in 20 years.
This is going to be funny.
Might as well sign us up.
Well, the good thing about this panel, everybody can hold their own.
Everybody played at a high level.
But I'm saying, like, everybody is like can be normal and talk.
For more open court, you can check us out on NBA.com and on NBA TV. And we have just one question here, and you can frame it any way you want. The ideal meal, if you can only have one thing. Our producer Tim Kiley likes to say, if if it's your last meal on earth, whatever, in whatever context. Reggie, what is it?
Fried chicken, mac and cheese, mashed potatoes with blueberry cobbler.
Feeling you.
Top it off.
That's how you got that.
Shaq, I know we don't have a whole lot of time. Can you?
I'm just big boned it. My appetizer is gonna be brownie.
A brownie?
Yeah. Brownie, vanilla ice cream with that hot fudge on that thing.
Appetizer?
Yeah, appetizer.
Appetizer.
Then I'm gonna go with the sausage and cheese omelet, fries, and a Diet Coke.
And what's if you have a brownie for an appetizer, what's for dessert?
No dessert.
Okay.
No dessert.
You don't want to do dessert. It's too much.
Yeah, I'm gonna go fried chicken, potato salad, and peach cobbler at the end. Keep it simple.
I'm with you. I'm going my mom's fried chicken, my auntie's peach cobbler, and some mac and cheese. Not the runny mac and cheese.
Oh, you got to have.
It got to be the.
You got to have that, and you got to have that top that's kind of brown and crunchy. I like that too.
Ooh, I can't wait to hear this one.
I'm gonna go with some chitlins.
Oh my God! Come on! Did you clean them yourself? You gonna clean them yourself? Or you
No. I'm rich now. I can pay somebody to clean them.
Okay.
Some greens and ham hocks.
Ham hocks.
Yeah, you put the ham hocks in the greens.
We know what greens.
I'll do some potato salad and some good pancake bread.
Batter.
The buttery pancake bread. Y'all hate
drink the
What is pancake bread?
mix?
pancake. They're like
need a whole box of cake mix.
no pancake cornbread.
Okay, go ahead, Steve. Tough act to follow, obviously. What are you?
I'm a sushi guy. I realize that's not quite as.
Kenny, you're next.
Sushi. Thanks, Ernie. Sushi. I like
Sushi with what else?
Seared ahi. A big. I love ahi. Good, hey, I'm a big Asian food guy.
And the OE.
I'd have
That too.
I'd have a variety of what everyone said except for the ham hocks and pancake juice.
Pancake bread.